So we've got 43 people on. I don't know whether we've got time to ask everybody. So I'm going to ask for some volunteers. So please, can we have a bit of feedback now? What action will you take as a result of my talk? Now, just before I go, Matthew is going to send me a list of people and your emails on there, so I can send you a copy of the slides and I can send you some more stuff about working the room, etc. If you do not ever want to hear from me again, and I will not be embarrassed, please write to Matthew and say, I don't want to hear from Will Kintish. Matthew will send me that email and say, do not get in touch with A, B, and C. So that's my giving guidance, getting out. So I'm going to put you on Scala review. Would anybody, please, would you all come off mute? Can you unmute everybody, Matthew?
I can't unmute everyone. They have to do it themselves, unfortunately.
Okay.
We do have a question. If you want to go to one question that I've had, Will.
I'll have three. It's the same price.
Chris has asked, he says he's been cautious about linking in with competitors so they can't see his network. Should he be cautious about this?
Yes. I can't. Oh, I'm sitting on my chair now. Oops. I've just got this brand new bar stool and it's misbehaving.
Depends how many drinks you've had, I guess.
It's got a mind of its own. Yeah, you worked it out, didn't you? You thought that was water, didn't you? It's actually vodka.
Speaking of drinks, actually, at the top of the hour, we've been joined by a few other people that may have missed your talk, Will, because at this time of day, every 2 weeks, we have a virtual drinks session. So people may have popped off to get their drinks.
Okay.
Paul, well, yes, we've got a few drinks. So if anyone wants to get a drink, we'll still be here for another hour or so. So let me
answer some questions. Yeah, I can't see a great reason to network to be linking in with our competitors is the answer to that question. I'm going to pick on one or two people and ask you, what's the one thing you're taking away from today?
He doesn't see a reason to link with competitors.
Just put a hand up and tell me what you think. Anybody? Nobody likes talking, do they?
Well, I want to say, I remember you said to go back to your old invoices and reach out to those people. I love that suggestion. It's something that we all need to do more. I've been in this business for 30 years. I won't go back 30 years, but I do find when I go back to older clients that I haven't done business with in a while, I do end up with new business.
You all heard Frank? 30 years, Frank, do it. Go back through the invoices. I'm getting a whole load of new work and it's only coming from past clients because they know me, they like me, they trust me, they had me at their conference or in their offices where I did face-to-face networking. They trusted me and now they want me to teach them this. Somebody else, talk to me.
I have got another question. Well, someone's asked about cultural differences. If someone doesn't reply to the call or email, it just might simply mean that they're not interested.
As far as I'm concerned, are you ready for this, everybody? I love this one. I wish I'd penned it. We don't like hearing no, but no is the second best answer after yes. Do you like that?
Yeah.
So
no
why
means
not?
Next.
You just don't know. If you think it's a big deal, remember this. Until they say yes, the amount of business you've got is zero. So it can't get any worse. Think about it. It can only get better. So go for it. Somebody else, comment.
Well, so just on that, something you said earlier about just ask the question. It's something I learned quite a few years ago. And when you're sort of first starting off, you don't tend to do it. But the more you just ask the question of people, and obviously you've got to make sure it's some form of engaging question, actually you can be quite surprised by the results sometimes. And a lot of people still shy away from it.
Absolutely. And particularly the younger professional, Paul, it's just about experience, but they need to learn early on. Just ask the question. My 11-year-old granddaughter said to me a few months ago when I was sitting in front of my laptop, "Grandpa, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm working, Amy." She said, "But Grandpa, I thought you work on the stage. So what are you actually doing there?" And I thought that was a good question because she assumed I was a conference speaker. And of course, I explained I was looking for more business. So I was impressed with that 11-year-old. Anybody else? Or are you all desperate to go? Yes, question.
No, Tobias from Germany. Hi, Will. Unfortunately, I joined only 20 minutes ago for drinks. But my takeaway from what I heard is that what I learned 23 years ago is still valid. Pick up the phone, talk to people rather than use the email, and stay persistent. When you don't get an answer or you don't get the person on the phone, stay persistent, keep calling them. And as you said, no is the second best answer to get. What I learned when I was a young professional, as long as the client doesn't say no, you have to assume it's a maybe yes answer. So keep on asking the question: do you want to buy? Do you want to rent? Do you want to meet?
Tobias, first of all, you said you come for the drink, so you're not a networker, you're a net drinker, aren't you? That's what you are.
No comment, no comment.
But can I just pick up on something you've said there?
Yeah.
And I've forgotten what it was. I've forgotten. But you're right, picking up the phone. Oh, I know what it was. I'll tell you when people won't ever do business with you. When they decide they didn't like you.
Yep.
That is the key to the whole thing. If they don't like you and you've done something wrong, or I don't know, whatever it is, they won't do business with you. But as you say, when they say no, they never mean no, they mean not yet. That's what they generally mean, not yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gabrielle, you're doing lots of chatting. Would you like to talk to me? Maybe he wouldn't. Okay.
Gabriel, are you there?
I'm here. Sorry, I had to find the mute button.
That's all right.
Hello, Gabriel. Where are you sitting? What city are you in?
Austin, Texas.
Aha, right, okay.
Just give us a little recap of your chat message.
It was an interesting comment, Gabriel.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I in our business, in the way that we work, I take a different position than Will's stance on competitors and you know, and linking in competing, you know, with your competitors because of the idea that they're going to steal your clients. First of all, there's so many people I have connections with on LinkedIn, and if somebody wants to take the large part of their life it would require to go through all of them and figure out if they're even clients versus just friends or other colleagues, then you know, then they have a lot more time to waste, and that probably means they are no good at what they do. They couldn't steal a client of mine if they tried. But frankly, many of the people on this Zoom call are at some level competitors in what SIOR is about, and largely with the way our industry works. If it's done the right way, in my opinion, we do collaborate with our competitors, and our competitors one day on one project are our colleague and collaborator on another. And so I don't think that in what we do collectively on this call that not networking with your competitors is even an option, let alone a good direction.
Okay, thank you.
I think just to chip in on that though, Gabriel, I think our industry is quite different from a lot of other industries. There is a high degree of trust between professionals, and we, as you say, we're used to collaborating and working together and trusting one another that you're not going to nick one another's clients, and that's the way it's worked throughout my entire career as well.
I agree, and certainly no more so than under the SIOR tent.
Absolutely.
I think we all know that you do that once and you're dead in the water.
You're gone.
Yeah. I'd agree as well. When I say it's Ian Finnegan here, sorry, I've been kind of off air, but I keep on telling younger people in my organization not to just to take the facts off the computer that transactional details or whatever, pick up the phone, talk to the person who dealt with the transaction. If you want to know whether it's a strong comparison or a weak comparison, because you can always get lucky and get a great price or a great rent for something because you just had one person came along, or you could have had great competition for it and you could have got more, but you took a better covenant. That's how you get to understand whether it's a good comparison or a bad comparison, say for setting a rent or a valuation. And if you don't have interaction and networking with your colleagues, and they should be colleagues in the other firms rather than competitors in the other firms, I think it's one of the parts of our business that's been lost, certainly here in Ireland. I can't speak for other countries, but I think it's that fact that they are colleagues in other companies. And as someone else quite rightly said, you could quite easily, Gabriel said, you could be working together on a project or against each other on a project on the next one. But if you know each other and you've got some sort of interaction in the past, provided it's good rather than bad, then you have a much better chance of doing a deal together going forward. So I would agree with making sure that people do know their colleagues in different firms and have an open forum with them.
Gabriel, can I say this? I belong to something called the Professional Speaking Association, and I'm linked to nearly all of them in there because we give each other business, and it sounds the same to you. One area, I presume you all realize that LinkedIn, which started in 2003, started out as a job site. And there, the recruiters are very, very competitive. And that is one area that they definitely will not link in with competitors. But from what I'm hearing now, you're all working together. And as somebody said, if you can trust each other, then yes, definitely link in with each other. No argument.
I think I would tell you, hello everybody, it's Michael Payne, joined the call rather late, so hi everybody. I've just caught the tail end of Gabriel's commentary there, which I completely subscribe to everything he said, and indeed what Ian has said. I think one of the challenges that certainly I find running a team is not so much the risk that competitors are trying to pinch or steal your clients. I'm seeing less and less of that, thankfully. But what I am finding quite a challenge is getting younger members of my team, which comes back to Ian's point a few minutes ago, to pick up the phone and talk to their opposite numbers to share information. There does seem to be a reluctance on the part of the younger generation to socialize and to mix with their contemporaries. And I think that as older members of the profession, I think it's very much incumbent upon people like me to encourage them to socialize, because if they don't, it's exactly as Ian was saying a few minutes ago, if they don't get to know their opposite numbers in competitor businesses on a friendly basis, it's going to be very difficult for them to do their job in terms of advising clients on what rental values are and what levels of rent-free are in the market. It's information is what makes our business tick.
Michael, can I just comment on that? I think you're right. There is a however to that, and that is with the younger generations have been brought up in a very different world to the world in which we were brought up. They were brought up in a virtual world. Yeah. They were brought up looking at these things from ages of what, 3 years old? Yeah. Now, so we naturally will react against that and say, why don't you get outside, go and kick a football, go and do this, go, and go and socialize. And the point that I'm working round to, and the challenge, is that they are more used to a different way of networking. They think it's normal. They think it's normal not picking the phone up, Yeah. And Will, I'd be interested in your comment on that, because it's a real challenge. It's a cultural thing. It's a generation thing. What this must come up, Will, often on your workshops.
Paul and Michael, on slide 2, and I know you got there a bit late, on slide 2, it says there are 3 ways to network, and unfortunately the younger generation are doing it with the phone. And my kids, my children are 40, in their 40s, but even they would rather send a text than a phone call. And I don't think you're going to be able to do anything about it. But you know what? In my opinion, the ones who are going to get to the top of the tree are the ones who are going to do more talking and less typing.
Yeah.
It says that at the bottom of my email.
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
more, type less.
Yeah.
Will, I bore my poor sons who are 20 and 22 and doing business degrees in university, and I say to them, listen, you should remember the art of talking rather than, as you say, texting or messaging. And I said, because, you know, people have always done well, and the Irish have obviously done well around the world by being good communicators. And I said, you're growing up in an era where people don't communicate. And so if you're halfway good at it, you're going to be better than most people. The old adage of, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So I think it still stands to that. I think if we can get our kids or the next generation to be half decent at talking and communicating, then I think that you're right. They'll be able to be. It gives them a big advantage over their peers.
And what's it all about, everybody? Whether it's walking into the room at an event, which they don't like to do, or whether it's picking up the phone that they don't like to do, it's simple. Fear of, somebody like to finish my sentence? Fear of what? Rejection.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. The younger ones walk into that room and will look for their mates and not work the room like probably a lot of you guys will, because they feel inadequate. And this is where I've been training the younger ones for 20 years. Say, look, as long as you're a nice person, you have as much right to be in that room as everybody else. And the minute you start asking intelligent questions, people go, oh, wow, you're a clever guy, aren't you? Simple. It's so obvious. But they won't do it. They won't even accept the invitation because they're scared that walking in there, they're going to feel that big. And I have to teach them that not only do we have to physically prepare walking in, but the most important thing is mental preparation. I have as much right to be here as everybody else, and I'm going to enjoy it, and so on and so on.
Well, what I would say about your presentation, well, this is Greg Clemmer calling from Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes, Greg, thank you.
I think that it was an outstanding presentation.
Very kind.
And I will say that everybody I see on the screen is probably as seasoned, close to seasoned, been in the business for 33 years. I probably, and take this the right way, I probably have heard everything that you've said at some point in my 33 years. So you're, in a sense, and this is a plug for you, I'm going to give a plug to my office in about an hour or at a big call, is that you put it all in 3 pages where I have it spread out over 33 years, and all those little nuggets are coming back. And I think a lot of us do this stuff innately. And what our questions are here are all for the people that work for us, all the young kids.
Yeah.
My pitch to my office, and I've taken these notes down for my team. I've got a bunch of young guys on my team. Is this pitch is for all the 35 and under kids. It's for us too to remember what we're supposed to do and remember. But for the other kids, it's a great starting point, a kick in the ass for how they should be operating business, whether they, it's Zoom calls or something else. And so I'm going to finish with that. You can call me because I'm going to send your information to my company. And I just want to ask the people from the United States, the whole time I've been on this call, right under me, and I think he signed off. I don't know him, James Klein.
James just signed off.
I thought he looks like Tom Brokaw. I kept thinking that we had Tom Brokaw from NBC News on the call. Anyway, I got to sign off. Boston, we're sorry that all you guys didn't show up in Boston last month. But maybe we'll do it again in 20 years.
Yeah, Gregory, don't tell Jim that when you speak to him. I've got a question, actually picking up on Gregory's comment, and this is a question for Jacqueline then and Heather, actually. So I'm going to put you on the spot because you are a different generation, okay? And so talking about what we're just talking about here, about sort of networking, and how do you feel about it nowadays? Because 30 years ago, our networking was going to pubs, going to bars, three lunchtimes a week in the evenings. That's what we did. You don't do it now. It just doesn't happen now. So what's life for you like now in terms of networking? Jacqueline.
Well, thanks for pointing out. I actually learned a lot because I actually also have this question, because you mentioned that younger generation are afraid of picking up the phone, but sometimes we just intimidating. Actually, the same experience with me right now, because I'm probably the youngest one in this meeting, and by sharing my ideas, it's a little bit intimidated for me. So I also have a question, like, how do you feel when a younger people that is before you and they want to ask you some questions because they currently right now maybe cannot bring any value to you?
Jacqueline, we love sharing our knowledge. It's exactly as Will says, you know, you like to be able to help people. One of the things I think that's absolutely fantastic with SIR is the graduate program, and bringing people like you to the conferences where you come to, I mean, unfortunately, Boston didn't go ahead, but other graduates who've come to the conferences, you will find you are treated exactly like the rest of us in the room. And people who have been to the conferences have taken that away, and that's what very often the feedback has been. They've been surprised that we are really interested in your views. You're on the same level as everybody else. That's it.
Thank you, Paul.
I would echo that,
I'm
Jacqueline.
glad I didn't answer, sorry, the question Paul raised, because for me, I personally spend more time like on Instagram, and for me in China, we spend more time on WeChat. So, so building a better profile on Instagram or WeChat, on WeChat Moments, are equally important for me of building a LinkedIn profile. Thanks.
And Snapchat. So I hope our marketing team are listening. Snapchat and Instagram and other things.
That's an interesting comment. I think truthfully, I think a lot of us would say we're intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Yes. But we need to attract the younger members, students and associate members now. Before Jacqueline, before we finish with Jacqueline, not that she's going anywhere, but she did email me earlier this week and asked for advice on finding a job. She's in Shanghai, although she's been doing this master's real estate in a master's in real estate in Manchester. So if anyone's got any good contacts in China, in Shanghai, or then she'd be very happy to have them, wouldn't you, Jacqueline? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning.
Can we hear from Heather as well?
Yes, Heather.
From Jacqueline. Heather, what's your thinking about networking?
So my side of it is really, there's a huge difference between the younger generation and the older. And I can go have coffee with someone who's been in the industry a long time and get tons and tons of information, and they just throw it out there like it's nothing. So it is sometimes hard to keep up with that, because they'll start just shooting stuff all over because they're so used to just having conversations about it. And it'll be way over my head and I have to slow down and take a ton of notes. And then the younger generations, I can usually get them online, but it is very difficult to get them in person. And when you do, they don't understand how to share leads and go back and forth with information. It's just a one-sided or very narrowed conversation.
That's interesting.
Good evening, everybody. Michael Boyd is my name, new member based in Ireland. And this is a fascinating conversation. It started with about competitors stroke colleagues. And I've always had a view that the other people in my profession are my colleagues and are sources of business, as Paul will testify. And that's been the case, that's how I've got on in my professional life. And to tell a little story about the younger generation, I have found it easy to network upwards. And I'm now beginning to find it a bit more challenging to network downwards in the years. because of that difference in culture. The younger generation are online. So I was driving one of my daughters and two of her friends to a match one day, and in the rear view mirror, I could just see the three of them on the phones all the time and no conversation, total silence. And I couldn't understand this. Why weren't they chatting away to each other? And I said it when we got there. I said, girls, have you nothing to say to each other? Yeah, we were all about each other all the way for the last half hour. They were conversing with each other on their phones. That's how they do it. And they are every bit as good in a totally different way as we are at networking. It's just, there is that little divide. And I do get concerned. You know, how I'm great at relating to a realtor or an estate agent in their late 40s upwards. How do I relate to one in their 20s? And it is something I just have to get out and learn about.
I think, Michael, I think you're absolutely right. Can I ask a question of SIOR, actually? Because, and pass my regards on to Rene when you speak to him. But yeah, do pass my regards on. But how do you find things, given what Heather and Jacqueline have said?
Well, about social media and about networking.
Well, no, yeah, networking, different generations. So just continuing on the different generations and the different.
Yeah, well, I'm like between both generations. So I'm very used to, you know, being physically out there and introducing myself and talking with people. And at the same time, I'm about 32 years old, by the way. And at the same time, I'm very comfortable with my phone as well. But I have to say, I prefer making more phone calls than texting, to be honest. I think it's just the way it is, and I understand that people are afraid to maybe for the younger generation to, you know, talk more face to face with new people that they haven't met before. I get that, but I think, isn't that like part of life, to fear something but still to, you know, have the courage to do it anyways? I mean, in the past, when we didn't have this conflict, probably the older generation had other fears. I think that's just part of the progress. And I think eventually there will come in the near future, hopefully, there will come a day that people are so used to it that it's not a matter of a question of that it's a challenge. And but also I think that for the newer generation, perhaps after COVID-19, they will realize how nice it is to meet each other face to face in person, that probably they will get more often out there and, you know, and maybe leave their phones more behind, because I don't think that's very good for your health either. But yeah.
Here's the thing about personal networking and having that social interaction, which is what I'm missing today. How many of us have won that piece of business through that casual comment? You're sitting having a drink with somebody or a coffee with them or something, and they mention something, you say, oh, wait a minute, this is something I can help you with. That just isn't going to happen when you're having email conversations. It just doesn't happen.
Paul, you've taken the words right out of my mouth. I was going to just respond to Heather's comment a few minutes ago. At the end of her comment, she mentioned the issue of, if I'd understood it correctly, Heather, using social media, email, text. The conversation is quite narrow, and it's exactly your point, Paul. You lose the spontaneity of the conversation if you're not having a conversation in person with someone. That one off-the-cuff comment could potentially lead to a business, to new business that ordinarily you would not have got through an email conversation or a text message. And I think that is the big downside to using social media. It certainly has a place. I think it is important. I think it does have a value in terms of promoting business, but I think it's highly dangerous to rely entirely on it for business generation for the reasons you've mentioned, Paul, and for the point that Heather mentioned.
I think that as well is that with the newer the younger generations, the social media is completely integrated and incorporated in their lives. So older people will just send an email or they will just text once. The younger ones, it's all day long. So they think of something, they shoot a text over. They think they see something funny or a picture, they'll shoot a text over. So it's throughout the day as they think about it, it's very immediate. And then the next thing comes along.
I agree. And you know, so I think there's there's as much of a barrier going each direction. I don't think it's a one directional barrier there. And if you look at the stats of, where the decision makers in most corporate positions are going to be over the next 5 to 6 years, that is shifting rapidly to a millennial generation decision making, and that is, I suspect, going to change a lot of the culture of what communication is more effective in sourcing client relationships, because the historic client that you were going after 10 years ago, 20 years ago, even still today, is not going to be the same actual client that the same decision maker that you're going to be going after 5 and 10 years from now. So to go back to Michael Boyd's comment or question and tie it to what Heather just said, I think that is in part why many sage people have recommended that older generation people should get a young mentor, you know, or some might prefer the phrase reverse mentor. Take a junior person as your mentor in reverse, because that shift is happening right now. And unless you plan on retiring in the next 2 to 3, 4 years, you're going to need to make that shift if you're over the age of 40, more so than Heather and her generation are going to need to make to the way we do it.
I would like to add one more thing. I mean, sorry, just last thing. I think it also depends where your target audience, where your clients are, right? So if they are more, if you're targeting younger ones, then yeah, you should look at, okay, do I have to be more on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever? But it also really depends your customers, the consumers, where are they? And we just have to enhance that and make the best out of it.
There is also a practical, oh, sorry, Will, please go ahead.
I joined LinkedIn in 2003. I was one of the early people outside the US. And I thought, what a load of rubbish. Social networking is know, like, and trust. How the heck can you get to like people and trust people? And it took me 7 years. I did nothing with it until 2010, and then I got it. And I spent $10 buying a website called linkedintraining.co.uk. And for the next 5 years, I trained people in LinkedIn. And I sold the website 5 years ago, and it was very nice. But what I want to say to you is the social media and the LinkedIn mainly, which is the main business site, is great for getting to know people. But what does know mean? We can't, I think it's something Michael said, until we're in the same space as them, we can't really get to metaphorically feel them, touch them, and sense what they're all about. So there's nothing wrong with using LinkedIn to get the relationship off the ground. But if eventually you're going to do some business, it has to be in an office, it has to be face-to-face in the coffee shop or whatever it is. So just picking up what we're all saying, there is a place for both. But if you think you can start and finish, I don't think you can start and finish a whole deal without meeting people. Can I have a nod to that? You have to meet them at some stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
sorry, can I just say something? It's James here in Dublin, and something that maybe Will might have a view on here is, you know, in dealing with young graduates and people over recent years, I find that they are less prepared to allow work into their private space, as in their private time after, say, 6 in the evening, etc. And I found that is extended into social media platforms. So while they're happy to engage on LinkedIn, and this is maybe just a query or a question, because to Michael's point earlier, and you know, something Gabriel touched on, if we're going to reverse engineer the process and mentoring, I'm not sure how comfortable I feel trying to reach out to younger agents via Snapchat or Instagram. I mean, I think it might be a bit creepy, but I'm not sure what the engagement appetite is for that from the younger generation. So really, it's a question about what's appropriate for us if we're going to engage downwards with the younger generation to try and learn from them.
I had a lesson the other week, James, about Instagram, and it's just not for me. We are professional people selling a service. Now, I'm scared to say it, but Sarah, Heather, and Jacqueline might argue, but the Instagram is mainly for product, for selling products, because it's all visual. Now, I'm looking for a comment back on that. Heather, you're smiling at me. Would you like to respond to that? Take yourself off mute, please.
Yeah, so actually on studies that they've done, Instagram responds best when there's a person in the photo. So I would actually say the opposite of that. It's really about maybe the person that's taking that action for whatever that product is.
Now I'm talking product versus service.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I'm very much on YouTube and Instagram, and it's not only about products, because they also sell their services there. There are a lot of coachings online, a lot of consultants in different areas that sell their services online. So that's why I said it depends. Who are you targeting? So if I'm a coaching person and I want to teach young people how they can start their own online business, then obviously I have to be on Instagram and YouTube. So it really depends. Where are your customers? Are they younger? So look at them. Where are they? Are they on Instagram? Then I can imagine that it might be uncomfortable, or if you're not experienced, it's difficult to go on Instagram. For instance, at BCI Global, they hired me to take care of their LinkedIn because they're all, the most of the consultants there are more from your generation, older. So they hired me to take care of that, the online whole world. So yeah, it's basically in Instagram, on Instagram, they also do sell services.
Can I add something?
Can I add something here as well?
Hang on, Jacqueline, go ahead. Sorry, Thorsten will come back.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because Instagram and some other social platform has already become a searching engine for younger generation. Sometimes you may not need to like to approach them, but sometimes we look for some information on these designated platforms. So I think building a very professional or either good-looking profiles are necessary.
Dzięki wielkie, dzięki, że dzwonisz. Wiesz co tam u ciebie w ogóle, jak tam zdrówko?
Renata.
No.
You need to go on mute if you're taking a phone call. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, Jacqueline.
It's okay. I'm just.
Can you just explain a little bit? And this is for the benefit of everybody, because I suspect a lot of people here are not avid users of Instagram. But
although you say that, Paul, but this very event was posted on Instagram.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. But the question I was going to ask though is, in terms of like detail, what we do from a day-to-day point of view, in terms of detail, you suggested you go there because you can find out information and so on. For the benefit of everybody, just explain the sort of information you're able to find, not detail, but just generally and generically, the type of information. Because we're used to old-fashioned traditional media. So, and you're saying actually Instagram presents something very different for a different generation, yeah?
Jacqueline, do you want to answer that?
Well, whoever, Sarah or Jacqueline, I don't mind. Yeah, maybe Sarah, because that's your job, your sort of job role from what you said while Rennie's got you on board and so on.
Yeah, so if I get it clearly, if I understand it, what you're asking is what kind of information is available on Instagram?
Well, just for the benefit of everybody, just now, because obviously traditional media is probably what a lot of us are used to, but and therefore we will naturally go to Instagram. So just sort of educate everybody for a minute.
Well, that varies because, and Jacqueline, correct me if I'm wrong, but the things that I look up on Instagram, the things that I see is not everything that is out there. There's an algorithm going on, also on YouTube and Facebook, you name it. It kind of customizes to your searches. So obviously, if I always look up for, I'm just going to say something, look up for makeup, then all I get are things related to makeup and clothes. But probably if you look up things for, I don't know, something on logistics, honestly, I don't know if it's out there because I never searched on Instagram. But basically, it really customizes per person what your searches are. What do you search for? And that's what you will get.
I would say something on this too. So I actually do search on Instagram and LinkedIn, like for land deals or brokered deals that have happened recently in my city. And I have a mentor, and it's interesting because when we meet, he'll give me the business journal, the Houston Business Journal, and he'll have stuff underlined in or articles to read. And half the time I say, oh yeah, I saw that online. I saw that on the eve, whatever it was that they sent out. And if I'm looking up a certain broker, then I'll look them up online and I'll find the deals that they did, as opposed to going to reports and things that have been published, because they get outdated so quickly. So I think it's different industry types. As long as you're searching for that and you get used to going there for your information, you can get it really, really quick.
If I may, there's been lots of brilliant points here. Will's presentation raised the issue of, asking questions of people, what do you do? And be ready for that question to explain to people. Your question might be, I help people navigate the property swamp, or I bring value to their investments, or whatever your answer is. And that answer might just not give them the impression that you can address their property issues. So the next most important question that you have to ask, I think, and you have to figure out where to skillfully insert it into the conversation and how to skillfully insert it into the conversation, is to ask for the business. If you're doing business, don't do it without coming back to me. They might not think that you're suited to what they have to do, but you might be suited. And in relation to the generational thing, I think a lot of the older guys, and I'm one of them, and particularly in bigger firms, tough luck. We just have to hire people to understand social media and technology for us. And unless you're gifted that way, that's what you have to do. The advantage, we might be tempted to think that the younger generation are disadvantaged by not being able to drink pints in pubs and circulate like that. And they probably think those old geezers don't know how to navigate online media. So they're actually more advantaged than we are. And what I've noticed, I have a multifaceted small business, and what I've noticed, it's a wonderful thing, I'm really a big fan of it, among the younger generation buying property, is it's really like buying a coffee at the newsstand outside the railway station. Here's the money, give me the coffee, I'm gone. They're not interested in being told this is a big deal in their life. They're not interested in some solicitor telling them this has to take months and it's really complicated. There's the money, I want the product now. So the consideration of who to use for your business, the consideration of how it's all going to be done has shrunk way, 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 way down. And the whole thing, the transactions are becoming much snappier because the customers aren't interested in all the wool and the floss and the stuff that's around it. They just want it done. And this is interesting perhaps for big businesses, because my business doesn't do this. RFTs, if you're quoting or tendering for big business, people complain that, it's all about price and all the humanity is taken out of it and the context are taken out of it. But that's probably the way of the future when the millennials start running these big companies that have business to hand out, that it'll be very clipped about how tenders are assessed and given out. That's just the way it's going. I think it's great.
I I'm going to have to jump off fairly shortly. If I can just loop back into Jacqueline, who we might remember actually kickstarted all this conversation. You asked, how interested would we be listening to you? Look what you kicked off.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just say, you won't believe this, but I have another meeting to go to. I hope you all found my stuff useful. I look forward to keeping in touch via social media, via LinkedIn. And Matthew, thank you for inviting me and organising it all.
Thank you, Will.
I wish you good night, good morning, good day, good afternoon, and I'm now going to go. Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Will.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much. We'll be in touch.
Much appreciated.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew, I would like to see about getting the recording for this, because I think it would be great to have some of the SIORs show the recording, not just the slides, to their younger brokers. And this conversation afterwards, I think, would be very useful for getting the seasoned broker and the younger brokers to have these conversations.
Yep. Okay, well, we have recorded most of the workshop. I did miss the first 10 minutes, so I'm going to chat to Will about redoing that. And we'll certainly provide the slides, and yeah, I'm sure we can share, no problem.
Yeah, I'll just actually just to add, because I know we've been on like for 2 hours now, and we normally do the drink session for an hour. Can I, first of all, can I just thank everybody for actually joining? And I think by the interaction that we've been having, I think it would be fair to say that Will has certainly provoked an awful lot of discussion that we don't normally find after these sessions. So for that, I thank you. I thank you all. And just to say that from the point of view of SIOR generally, you know, we are very conscious that outside of the world issues that we're dealing with and facing at the moment, that our profession, the world that we operate in, is very different, and there's definitely a generational thing here, and so consequently, from the point of view of SIOR Europe this year, some of the key areas that we're focusing on, outside of we need to make some money, and we want to make some money, and we want to do some deals, and that's important, and we shouldn't forget that. But particularly Renata is leading, and I know Nicola is part of the team as well, leading our diversity and inclusion and belonging group. And Paul Pride, who I think is still on, is also working with many of the young professionals, of which a number of you are on this call, because we are very conscious that we want to encourage, we want to broaden our appeal, both as individuals and as SIOR in Europe. So please, please, please do speak up, do join us. We really do listen, and we really would appreciate your contribution, particularly those of you that are in other parts of the world, and particularly the SIOR Europe members who are situated in mainland Europe. We have a lot of members who are situated in the UK and in Ireland, but actually what we want is more engagement, more involvement from our friends in the mainland European countries. James, do you want to just pick up on anything I've just said?
I think you've nailed it, Paul. Younger, more diverse and more geographically spread is what we want to achieve. And I think we definitely want to spark more conversations like this. So please, 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 if you have any ideas, myself and Ian Rackley are putting together a strategy around marketing. And we have Charlie in France, Tobias in Germany helping us, and we'd welcome more help, please, to change the dial.
Absolutely. So please reach out to any of us. You know, we are here to here to help and support. Matthew.
Yes.
I think we're up to an hour and a bit. I think, in fairness to everybody.
I just want to say hi to Michael Boyd, who I haven't seen for a long time. Michael, good to see you.
It's funny how you wave at someone's on the screen somewhere, bottom left. Okay. Bill, you wanted to say something earlier. Sorry, you put your hand up and started to speak, but you didn't get a chance. And the same with Thorsten. I shut you off earlier, Thorsten. So I don't know if you want to speak. I mean, if we can carry on drinking if you'd like to. There's no need to switch off if you don't want to.
Well, no, just to say a great presentation. I'm sorry, I must have got the wrong hour because I turned up an hour late, and still it was the last 10 minutes was great as well. So I was very interesting to follow that. Yeah, maybe we should say a lot more from the content, because much of what was discussed is actually an Anglo-Saxon point of view. It is actually, I don't know, Thurston, you come to continental Europe, we do business differently in France and in Germany and the rest. There are better things, there are worse things. It's another learning curve. I know it surprises British people less when they come over because it's not such a change, but a lot of Americans will come to continental Europe and then really be out of their depth, not just in the language, but other very stranger approaches.
Well, just let me add something. I don't want to be confrontational, but all this talk.
You usually are.
Yeah.
All the talk about Instagram and the other social media platforms using for commercial real estate, I do not think this is going to go forward. What we're going to see, not confrontational, okay? Okay. And what I'm going to see and what I'm going to see in my organization, what is pushed in are programs like Teams, where we collaborate and where we are talking internally and externally. But I do not see, given the requirements that are at the moment on the market, I do not see. Let's put it bluntly. I do not see a 25,000 square meter warehouse put onto Instagram, and I don't believe in that.
Like I said, depends what the target audience is.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? And just to explain for those,
I'm getting
for those of you who don't know Torsten is with that very old-fashioned organization called Jones Lang LaSalle.
Who? He's called Jones Lang Wooden in the old days.
Jones Lang Wooden.
But I don't see that happening. Instagram, I don't see it happening. But I'm in my early 50s, so maybe it's going to happen, but I don't see how this is going to develop. I mean, I'm happy for a discussion and I'm happy for comments on that, but how is Instagram going to promote a product which is...
Thorsten, are you on Instagram already? Are you on Instagram?
No.
Well, have a look and you'll find out. There is a lot of real estate going on Instagram. I tell you, we have an SIOR Europe account, and it's followed by all sorts of people all over the place, all real estate, particularly there's a whole German group just for real estate, on Instagram. I mean, I don't understand it. It's all in German, but it's there and people are using it. It's incredible.
Thorsten, whether it's Instagram or some other social media channel or brand, it's like the old story, if you don't believe in email, can you send me a telex?
My first job was
exactly that.
I suspect one of the things is that these are all channels to reach people. And I think everyone should be exploring all the channels to reach someone. Whether you choose then to follow on the conversation in that format, and I would agree with you, it's hard to probably conduct any business on Instagram or otherwise, but it's all about reaching an audience. And as I said earlier, it depends on what audience you're trying to reach. There's no point in trying to reach, people who are our age and older necessarily on Instagram if that's not what they're on. But if you know, and one of the things one of my Resi guys said to me is that, you know, now we've a ruling in Ireland that you have to have acknowledged that you've viewed a property virtually before you're allowed to actually view it in person and show proof of funds. But what he's saying is that so many people have maybe putting up the access to virtual tours and you don't know who's seen it or whatever. Our job is to get hold of the person and then do what we do best, which is either dispensing professional advice or being a salesperson or whatever it is that you do. So my guy is saying what they would, you know, my head of residential says they have to contact me in order for me to give them the link so they can do the virtual tour, which sounds like it's stopping something happening. He said, no, he said, because now I have an engagement with them. Now I can go back and see how they got on with it and stuff like that. So I think it's all about how do we adapt the medium that we're using and make sure that we still keep some level of control. We keep some level of being able to follow it up and stuff. And I think what frightens you and to me to a certain extent is if it's a medium that you're not that comfortable with and you're not that familiar with, you're frightened that you can't control it in any shape or form. And I think what your problem is, as in your query and my query would be, how do I convert that into actually getting to talk to them and actually having that conversation? So I think it's more about concentrating on that, not whether we should be doing it or not doing it. I think we should be on every platform, forum, whatever there is out there, we should be on it. The question is, how do we then get back to be able to make sure that we can do the leap, that we actually end up talking to the person and do what we do best, which is communicating with them.
Okay, here's a thought for you all. Who has heard of an organization called XP Commercial? Right, up till a week ago, you have, because I told Matthew about it. Up to a week ago, I'd not heard of it. They've got, they're listed on NASDAQ. They've got 34,000 brokers signed up already. The total platform is digital. The total real estate transactional platform is digital. No physical offices, period. Now, I'll be controversial. Sorry, that's the future. That's in 50 years' time, I think, what we're going to see. So, and to your point, Ian, we can't sit here today and say what's right, what's wrong, etc., etc. But I think we're all well aware that, you know, everybody will be driving around in electric cars, whether they've got drivers in or not, we don't know. The way we've done real estate, if you look back over our careers, 30 years, and I was talking about, you know, drinks Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, in the evening. That's how real estate was done 30 years ago. It's not how it's done today. And I just feel that there's no doubt that we need, there's a lot I think we're all taking out of this, and a good thing for SIOR in terms of, you know, the use of social media, Instagram, and so on and so forth. But we're in a very, I think we all know we're in a very different world now. And
I think the bank, there was a guy from the bank who was a few years ago was just discussing disruptive technology, and we all hear about it and stuff, and he's sort of saying, you know, Uber being a classic case of you can, you know, or it doesn't really matter, it can be My Taxi, whatever you want it to be, or Free Now as they call it, whatever, is the reality is that you can actually order a taxi, it comes and picks you, or a driver comes and picks you up. You can jump into the car, you don't have to speak to them, they already know where you're going, and you can get out again if you don't want to speak to them, and you've already paid, and off you go. And what's happening is that suits, and it goes back to our earlier conversation about a new generation who doesn't necessarily want to communicate verbally. So what he said to me, which was of interest to me, and that probably of interest in connection to what we're talking about now, he said it affects the bank in the way that people want to do business that way. So they're not interested in coming in and talking to you. They're not interested in going into a branch. They want to do it like Revolut as you know, is a serious challenge to, as long as there's trust behind it, to banking. So I think you're right. I mean, this XP, whatever you're saying, consulting or whatever, that's the problem. I think there's a whole generation who are quite happy to do stuff online. They don't particularly want to talk to any of us old farts who bore the tears off them trying to negotiate and all the rest of it. They say, as long as it's transparent, as long as I feel that I can trust how I'm dealing with it, if there's other people there bidding for it and I can trust that, well then I'm happy to pay whatever that price is. And I think people are less concerned, funnily enough, even my kids and stuff like that, are less concerned about getting the last twist out of either in the sale or getting the very best price they can get it at in the purchase. I mean, I think if you ran, I mean, I don't know, in the markets, you know, I'm saying that the younger generation don't haggle in markets anymore. Like, if I'm in a market, if I'm on holidays or something, you know, it's part of the game. You know, you've got to haggle. You know, you might be buying, doesn't matter what you're buying, oranges or lemons or whatever, or a hat or something, or sunglasses, you haggle. And I just think there's a new generation, and maybe the younger generation on the call here could maybe say whether I'm right or wrong. They don't really care. It's transactional. The least hassle, the better. So if I don't need to deal with a broker, and if I can just do it online, register my bid, look at the thing, if I think it's fair, I'll do it. If that's the price, that's the price. I'll pay it. If I don't want to pay it, I won't pay it. But I don't really have to listen to some broker telling me I'm doing a great deal or not doing a great deal. And I think maybe that's our problem, is that we're living in a fool's paradise, living in the past, thinking that we are very important and that we bring this crucial thing to it. I passionately believe that I can always get more money from my client if I'm involved and if I negotiate, and I can always get a better deal if I have a chance to go out to bat for them. But that's only pertinent if my client gives a damn whether they get it cheaper or sell it for more. And I suspect that is changing. And we see it with service offices and all the rest. We thought might die during COVID and all the rest. People want the flexibility, and they don't want long-term liabilities, and they're happy to pay for it. And they see it because it's only a question of, it's not cost that's important, it's your perception of value. And I think so. Maybe to the ladies, you know, whether you think that's the right thing or not, or am I off kilter of how the next generation are thinking about transacting?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you are right. I can see myself there, but I think at this moment, because this whole digital thing is it's still pretty new, right? I mean, how many decades has it been? I think there will come a time that it will just go a little bit more down, that people get used to it. You will see that people are less often on their phones and less on social media. But for upcoming another decade, 1 or 2, it will still be a hot thing, I think. That first of all. Secondly, I think, of course, it depends what you sell. Some products, most of the time products, you can sell it. You can show it on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, LinkedIn, and put a link there where they can buy it. But when it comes to services and it is very pricey, I can imagine that people still want to have a conversation. A lot of times what I see happening on Instagram is that when people sell their services, they also provide a link that you can make an appointment with them to have a conversation, to find out more about it. So I would say just make it easier for your target audience. Try to understand them more, their buying behavior, offline, online, and especially when it comes to online, see whether they want to purchase things quickly or they still want to have a conversation beforehand. I see both of sides, that people purchase quickly, but also that they first want to have a call or it goes via email or via Zoom. I see both still happening. I think if you do a little bit of research on Google, trying to understand where's my target audience, what age am I looking at, who comes on Instagram, who comes on LinkedIn, you will understand a little bit more about them. Personally, for us at BCI Global, I work for consultants. So we do research, and they sell, oh, my laptop is about to die. And they sell, so we do research and give advice on, let's say, real estate, logistics, location selection, site selection, that kind of stuff. So when we think about those things, yeah, obviously we're talking about a lot of money. So we're not going to spend our time on Instagram. Yeah. We're going to invest our time on our websites when it comes to online world, on our website, on our LinkedIn. Instagram is the last one that we will look at. So
I think big ticket transactions are going to still require more interaction. I think it's going to be years. You know, I think particularly in residential, I think the lower end is just going to be done click and go, and people aren't going to. And I think on the rental side of things, both in commercial and in residential, I think it's going to be very much done, you know, electronically. But it is good to hear that, and I agree with you. Consulting, by the very nature, you have to consult with someone, so that's going to bring
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say one of the things that so you'll have heard the news. Not exactly publicising it, but the RACS, the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveying, is becoming a virtual company. You probably heard. It's shutting all its worldwide offices, or almost all of them, and it's currently making 151 people redundant.
Yeah.
It's new generation, it's new policy. It does not need the method it had in the past, the service to members and all that. So I think I'm part of a generation that's absolutely distraught by the thought of it all. We loved the RCS as it was. We're wondering if we're going to be just linked on a computer and sold English courses about what people do in Manchester, which just horrifies us in France.
Yeah.
I think, Bill, you're right. Matthew and I were on a call with Simon Pritchard, who's senior partner Geraldine, but he's also the chair of UK and Europe, is it, for the RCS, or is it UK and Ireland?
UK and Ireland, yeah.
2 weeks ago, we were on a call with him, and so whilst he was being discreet, I think we were aware he was quite clear what was coming at the ROCS. But it's a case in point, and the interesting thing is, I think it would be fair to say that the ROCS are very keen to have a higher level of involvement with SIOR Europe and SIOR generally, for a whole variety of reasons. And Simon recognizes that, you know, that august organization that has 130,000 members, 80,000 in the UK and Ireland, my goodness, it's got to change very, very quickly, because most of us switched off from it years ago.
Yeah,
and
they don't leverage the connectivity and of all the membership, and which is one of the appeals of SIOR to me, is there is this thing. I get letters, I get emails, I get stuff from the RCS, but do I feel any? And as I say, I actually, a couple of times in the past when they ran some courses and stuff, I went out to flew over to London and attended in headquarters to some of the which were very good at the time, and I'm talking about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago or something, but it's a different world, and I think they're right to look at themselves seriously. I think it's in terms of what it represents, it is absolutely brilliant, and it you know, it's pinnacle really of property qualification. But what they do with their resources are, you know, it must be the most underutilized resource of all these people around the world, and they're just not. I mean, they probably need to bring in someone from the likes of the Harvard alumni or Yale alumni or something to actually tell them how can you suddenly harvest the goodwill of people who have it and bring some collegial spirit to it or something. I'm not sure, but
I think actually, Ian, let's be more direct. They probably need to bring in Sarah and Jacqueline to actually educate them what the different generations actually are actually interested in. Wouldn't that be an improvement? I think we need to wrap up. Because we've obviously been on a long time and quite a few people have gone. So can I just say thank you very much to everybody. The conversation as well after the meeting has been very interesting. So thank you for all staying with us. And well, every 2 weeks, aren't we, for drinks? Every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks, yes. Just for those that are still on the call, we do have another speaker series next week, next Wednesday, same time, same place, or similar time, similar place. And we also are going to have a VIP virtual wine tasting instead of our Christmas lunch, and that will be on the 17th of December. So for 99 euros, you will receive 5 bottles from a chateau in Bordeaux, Saint-Emilion, Grand Cru, and a few other things, as well as some homemade wild boar pate, and the
I thought you
owner
were going to say homemade wine. I thought, please save it.
I haven't
Count
made
me
it.
in.
It's the home. So and the owner of the chateau, the wine grower, is going to guide us through the wines over an hour's drinks, and obviously 5 bottles. You may need to be 2 or 3 people in the room to finish them all off if you're not just going to do the tasting. But we'll be
I'm gonna lock the
publishing.
door. So watch this space. Matthew will be communicating with you all.
Definitely.
Yes.
Are we supposed to drink all 5 bottles of wine while we're on? Are we?
It's a wine tasting. You don't have to finish them all, but you know you're paying for them anyway. So that will go out fairly
Open
soon.
them, you've got to drink them.
Well, you can use your vacuum pack thing. I think I have a little one of these things that you can, if you don't finish the bottle, you can bring it, put a plug in the top. It's got
Just
dust
drink
in
it.
I know it's
Just
somewhere.
drink it.
It's somewhere.
I think we better-
Dust.
I can't ever see you never finishing a bottle of wine.
That's what they say. That's why I got magnets.
We had a similar thing with Prologis last week with gin, actually, and
With gin, yeah.
it was supposed to end after 90 minutes. But
it carried on. So we're starting with Bordeaux. There's suggestions of doing it with other wine regions and other countries, of course, outside of France, because I gather there is wine outside of France. Someone has suggested beer, Belgian beer as well. So sorry, Bill, I didn't quite catch what you said because you were being spoken over. But
just drink it. I know. I was just saying. I think we should wrap up.
No, I know, but you can leave the call, Paul. You don't have to stay.
Yeah, leave, Paul.
Needs company.
I know why you want to wrap it up rather than leave, because you're worried we're going to talk about you behind your back. But
no, he's just being polite.
And you know what, Ian? We will.
I was being conscious. I was being conscious of everybody's time.
Matthew, can you send wine to the States, or is this just for Europe?
No, we will be sending it to a very few select people. Unfortunately, the price isn't quite the same to send 5 bottles of wine to America. But if you do want to participate, Leslie, the cost for sending the wine to America is 160 euros. So 5 bottles of wine with the wild boar pate and the carriage is 160 euros. Yeah, and it's 99 for anyone else in Europe. Okay,
so are you sending this out to all SIORs, or you're just sending out?
No.
Okay.
No, we were gonna send it just to the European members as an exclusive event, and because that is limited to 10 to 12 people or 10 to 12 households, let's say, or offices or whatever.
Jacqueline as well.
In China, I haven't talked about sending it to China. I think Robert Thornburg wants to join us from California. I don't know about Mark, but there may be 1 or 2 people, 2 or 3 people joining us from the States. I don't know. We'll see.
Nice idea.
Okay.
Right, I am going to go. So I'm going to say goodbye to you all. So thank you very much. Matthew,
Paul, before you go,
yes.
Before you go, just to say thank you very much indeed to you and Matthew for organising a great event.
Yeah.
I have to say it's really provoked debate, hasn't it? This issue of the generations and communication. The one thing I wanted to mention very briefly, I know we're all going to go, but very briefly, how do you, if you're doing off-market deals, how are you going to be able to do them through Snapchat or email? It's just a thought.
Well, there you go. There's got to be a way.
Yeah,
that's quite easy. Do you remember Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Want to buy an Epsilon?
Thank you very much.
I'm going. I'm truly going. Right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Right.
Bye.
Okay. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you very much for joining.
Bye.
Thank you, Jacqueline, for joining from Shanghai.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacqueline. Good to see you.
We'll see if we can get you a job.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
All right.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
Matthew.
Yeah.
How do we sign up for the wine?
I'll put your name down. We're just planning the PR thing. I'll send out an invite for next week, during the beginning of next week, I think.
But count me in as well, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Love
That
that.
would be fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we talk tomorrow, Matthew?
Yeah, I'll call you at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Guys. You too.
Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.